Please welcome to the stage your MC, Nashlin Portrag.
Good morning and welcome to Partnership Connect 2020. I see we're very excited, lots of energy in the room, and we hope that this energy will translate to the presentations for today. So I thought before we kick off and we're in the age of data, let's pause and think about this morning and our digital footprint. So if we think about it this morning, lots of us would have used Google Maps to get here, possibly even used Uber. We may even have gotten a Facebook message to remind us of a friend's birthday. It is said that Facebook probably knows more about you than your friends and family in this modern age. What's quite interesting is this year, on average, people will give online data of around 1.7 megabytes in terms of their digital footprint. To put that into context, each one of us generates a song worth of data in terms of our digital footprint every 5 seconds. What's also quite remarkable is that if we look at the data that sits in the world, 90% of that data was collected in the last 2 years. Absolutely mind-boggling. That's why today we've pulled in the experts to unpack the data and have a look at the power of the data and how do we look at those insights. Please feel free to also share these insights and create to expand our digital footprint. Invite us on at Momentum Corporate on LinkedIn. We've also got a number of hashtags on the stage, so we invite you to tag us on your social media and create awareness around this age of data.
Dumo Mbete, CEO, Momentum Corporate.
Good morning. We are literally about 5 minutes to afternoon. It's really wonderful to be talking to you this afternoon. And really, following what was quite an exceptional discussion that Stafford just drove, really thought-provoking, forcing us to reimagine, forcing us to rethink what the world could be. And as we look at this, I am keen for us to now go on a journey where we explore this thing we call data, which we sometimes call data. It's South Africa, after all. So as we explore this, it's important for us to also reflect. So let's go on a journey of reflection and looking at how data has evolved from being a byproduct to being an asset.
Do you still remember the days when a whole family shared a single phone at home? Or waiting in a long line at the payphone to call home? Today, our phones are like limbs, and we'd rather share a straw than share our phones. Which is not to say we won't happily share photos, videos, and even what we had for breakfast. From Facebook and Twitter to YouTube and Instagram, we just love sharing. Sharing wasn't always easy, though. Remember floppies and stiffies? And then the all-magical USB stick? Today, we're saving on the cloud and sharing with the world. Now that's magical. But the most magical of all was our family holidays, except when we ended up in dodgy places that looked nothing like the brochure. Today, it's all about reviews, reviews, reviews. Who books anything without reviewing the TripAdvisor score with an affordable B&B only a few clicks away? Plus, getting there or anywhere could not be easier these days. We've swapped fold-out maps for Google Maps with voice prompts and dynamically adjusted journeys. Look how far we've come. And yet, in some ways, we've stopped going far altogether as we've gone from in-store to online. Now we buy everything from flasks to flip-flops to floating flamingos online. Some say that tech has killed our fun and our social skills, but standing in a mile-long queue in the bank to cash a check is the real killjoy. Bring on banking apps that allow me to move my money to the unique tune of my life. Speaking of tunes, do you remember huddling next to your radio to record a pop song on your cassette? Then came CDs. And next was iTunes. Today, we stream music on demand with Spotify and our favorite TV shows with Netflix. And instead of suffering through boring ads, we answer WhatsApps while we binge watch our favorite shows. Not to mention catching up on world events before we've opened both eyes in the morning. Because life is happening 24/7, and who has time to wait for the newspaper to hit the front porch? Technology is powering up our lives in ways we never imagined. From reminders on our smartwatches to take a walk, stress less, sleep more and call mom, to digital assistants and predictive text in Gmail, which would be a little creepy if it wasn't so useful.
Here's what I found.
Welcome to the age of data, the age of knowing everything, and of everything being known about us.
Welcome to the age of data. A little bit scary, everything being known about you and everything being known about us. Let's explore how we embrace our new reality. How we take this reality and use it to drive positive outcomes for our clients. So the video said it all. Back then, connectivity was seriously limited. There was very little reach and accessibility. But our world has changed, largely driven by technological innovation. And this technological innovation ensures that there are significantly higher levels of connectivity, access to information, merely at the click of a mouse, or crying out for help to Siri, whether you have asked for it or not, or even a shout out to Alexa. But through those interactions, we are able to unleash an explosion of data points, which then transform into information we can use to drive change. We are in the age of data, where data is widely viewed as an asset and no longer as a mere byproduct. So let's start with this big picture. In a population of 55 million people, we find that there are more cell phone contracts, cell phone SIM cards, relative to the number of people. The sheer extent of mobile connectivity, sitting at 170%, is truly exceptional. However, there is a big disconnect between access to these mobile solutions and members who update their data on our retirement funds. It might be a case of apathy, but it's also important within the context of the new policy holder protection rules. But more importantly, in terms of the broader purpose that we are trying to drive around making sure that these products that we offer, which are meant to make a difference at critical times in people's lives, actually deliver when that time comes. So Stafford shared quite a lot of statistics, and in this conversation, I'll be sharing, yes, some stats that we can all be proud of, but also in the same breath, some stats we would rather hide. But face them, we must. So just to give you an idea, at this point in time, around 28% of our Funds at Work members have valid contact details. So we want to engage, we want to guide people through their life journeys, and we only have 28% contact numbers for our member base. We've just learned that South Africa has mobile connectivity of 170%. This is due to multiple mobile subscriptions. You know, some of us walk around with 2 phones by nature. According to the first article, 80% of these are actually smartphones, meaning accessibility to the internet. Now, the second article that you're looking at up there highlights the lengths to which Facebook has been able to harness the data that we generate, our data footprint, to a point where they know what we want even before we want it. And again, some of the stats that Stafford was sharing as far as this is concerned were mind-blowing. Now, let's move from one very, very important asset to our most important asset, our employees. Some of you may be familiar with these words from Richard Branson. They highlight the importance of being and building a strong employee value proposition. In this day and age, employees are looking for career, for community, and to strive for a cause. So those are the 3 C's of today. It's no longer cash, car, cell phone. In the newsfeed, you also see our own Momentum Corporate employee value proposition. We talk about how our journey to success beginning with our employees. And so it's our business to ensure that each of our employees, and by extension, the members of the funds that we look after, all enjoy and taste success. Each employee operates within an ecosystem. It's quite a cool picture. It looks like Minority Report, if you remember the movie with Tom Cruise. In an ecosystem which impacts on their attitudes, on their behavior, as well as their performance. And this ecosystem exists within and outside of the workplace. So we need to ensure that we are focusing on the whole person and how different environments play into this individual's personality, what they are prepared to engage with, and what they would like to interact with as far as financial services are concerned. So, what do these data patterns start to tell us? So we start from, we need to crawl before we walk, before we run, before we fly. So we are probably somewhere between a crawl and a walk. But the initial filter we are able to apply very quickly is that of age. And this filter enables us to apply a generational filter. And through this, we get a high-level understanding of behaviors, preferences, priorities, as well as how these individuals make decisions. So, there is this phenomenon that people are now talking about. It sounds like, something out of the movies. The rise of the centennials. Yeah, if you thought millennials were tricky to understand and to interact with, we now have centennials who are starting to enter the workforce. Within Funds at Work, 56% of our member base are now millennials and centennials. While baby boomers now only make up 10% of our member base. We already have a good understanding of what drives our older generations. But today, I'd like us to spend a bit of time trying to understand this beast called centennials. And whilst we do that, we also, dabble into millennials, understanding how these generations connect and how to help them achieve their goals. So, this is a high-level snapshot. The first millennials were born 10 years before the start of democracy, and the last were born in 1994. Now, I like to, feel like I'm with it. So, both generations are politically woke. Yes. And they're aware of issues that concern, social matters as well as that concern justice. Now, at 8 seconds, centennials' attention span is even shorter than that of millennials, which is at a staggering 12 seconds. So, in case we have any centennials and millennials here who have probably now forgotten, I will repeat this. At 8 seconds, centennials' attention span is even shorter than millennials at a staggering 12 seconds. When it comes to technology, centennials are like millennials on steroids. So it's quite interesting to note that 61% of our withdrawal claims in funds at work are from millennials and centennials, which suggests, and I think as Stafford also pointed out, that changing jobs is just the norm for this generation. And this is something that we have to consider as we design solutions. So how do these generations engage, specifically focusing on millennials and centennials? Now, our research shows that millennials and centennials have a higher service expectation than any other generation. A big part of this is about speed, but it's also about how you ensure that you are delivering something that is tailored, something that is uniquely fitting me under the circumstances I am looking at a particular time. So just to give you an example, my daughter, who is a little bit over 2 years old, has been born into a digital world. She picks up my iPad, knows how to find Netflix, knows how to get into Netflix and find the kids, thank goodness, the kids' profile, and select Peppa Pig, and she can watch her shows. She knows exactly what she wants. If I try to select for her, she gets very frustrated with me. And this is a 2-year-old, born into a digital generation. So, what social impact is there on these younger generations? So, yes, they tend to be more passionate about environmental issues, especially millennials. And while centennials are likely to champion issues around human rights, around gender and equality. And you can see there on our far left, our fighter for the environment. A young lady who is making waves around the world. These generations are dealing with changing family structures as well. So single-parent households are now a new norm. We also have the sandwich generation, where quite often these individuals, yes, are taking care of their own children, they have to take care of themselves, and they have to take care of their aging parents. Now, what I like about innovation and what we do just around segmenting and boxing individuals is that quite often there are some surprises. So we should always be expecting the unexpected. Now, in the middle there, you see a gogo. She's about 85 years old, and a few weeks ago, this video went viral, where her son took her into the car and said, "Gogo, I'm going to teach you how to drive." And within minutes, Gogo was mobile. Seat reclining, music blaring, So it shows us that these generational stereotypes are being broken every day. My father is the biggest user of Facebook in the home. He posts more than I do, comments more than any of us do. So these generational stereotypes are truly history. Now, let's connect the dots. What does it mean within the context of employment? How do these younger generations behave as employees? So, on average, younger generations tend to change jobs more often than previous generations. In fact, almost every 2 to 3 years. And then when you get that SMS that says, "Hey, Dumo, I need to talk to you," you just hope that if that move is coming, it's at least within your organization and not them moving to another organization, which quite often is the case. Now, there's a general understanding and acknowledgement that the fourth industrial revolution is here and it has started to affect the way we work, our processes, our products, our services, and how we engage with clients. Now, these younger generations prioritize education, and they believe firmly that they can do it themselves. They are responsible for their education. So I learned a new word, that they now are able to access cost-effective platforms, which are called MOOCs. Yeah, like we're all gonna be cool. When we walk out of here this afternoon, we are all gonna be a bit cooler. Now, MOOCs are massive and open online courses, available to everyone, freely available online, and this is how increasingly we are finding this new generation is teaching itself new skills. So I'm all for people growing and having new opportunities within their careers. But what should really plague us as an industry is that this 61% of withdrawal claims that we are seeing from centennials and millennials only results in a 10% preservation rate within our funds. This is the data that is talking to us. A strong message around how ready these individuals will be to retire when the time comes. So, how financially prepared are these younger generations? They are not fans of delayed gratification, and therefore they don't instinctively embrace saving for retirement. And it's probably a life stage issue. I mean, if I'm still worried about how I'm going to get my first car, how I'm going to pay off my bond, the R word is not necessarily the first thing I would like to hear or to understand. So most of the younger generations expect that they'll still maintain a certain level of income post-retirement, maintaining relatively the same lifestyle. But the reality is that at a 10% preservation rate, this is highly unlikely. So it's no wonder that we see an average of net replacement ratios within our own fund at 34%. And given the current context, where the reality of post-retirement destitution is actually quite real, a 34% replacement ratio is again one of those stats I would like to hide. But deal with it we must. So most people will say their financial literacy is good. And despite the fact that they underestimate the level of savings that they've accumulated. No, I'm sorted. Don't worry, I've got this covered. Now, as we take a deeper lens into understanding our employees, we start to look at what keeps them up at night. And yes, they're not at Rich Nightclub or at Taboo. These are genuine concerns. The younger generation who make up the bulk of our workforce are crafting their own futures. And their life journeys are non-linear. So it's no longer you finish school, you study, you graduate, you get married, you have kids. These things happen in multiple orders. That's what we see today. Nearly 30% of the employees that we surveyed said that they worry about debt, they worry about insufficient savings, they worry about unplanned expenses and day-to-day affordability, which distracts them from their work. I'm sure even as we sit here this afternoon, some of you have had a quick look at your phones just to see what's happening with the stock markets. We are in a very difficult economic climate, and this plays out on a daily basis in the lives of our employees and in our own lives. Of course, the current economic climate now takes that stress and adds VAT to the stress. So let's focus on a few of these worries. So we are our biggest income generating unit. So what one of our critical concerns is just around ensuring that we are actually well enough to go out there and earn this income on a daily basis. So we must consider the employee and their families, especially where a child or an elderly parent is sick. This often leads to absenteeism. It leads to financial issues for our employees. So taking time off work to go to a local clinic or a hospital to see a doctor is quite prevalent in this environment. So luckily, we tend to have answers for these within our Funds at Work environment. So these days, if someone is feeling a bit of a niggle, if one of our members is feeling a bit of a niggle, they can get onto their phone and reach out to Hello Doctor. So Hello Doctor is one of our apps. You can engage it on an app, or you can call in, and on the other end of a line, you have a qualified doctor that you can engage with. Now, through this tool, we have learned that 66% of our members actually self-report that they are either overweight or obese. Through this tool, we have also established that 16% of smokers are within the younger generation. And they're smoking more than older generations. Well, perhaps they're a bit more honest, I don't know. But that's what the stats are telling us. So what we do need to realize is that most employed South Africans don't have access to private healthcare. About 79% of doctors work in the private sector, and only the top 20% of the population can afford this. So solutions like a Hello Doctor start to address the what if I get sick? You'll see it gets gradually worse in terms of these worries. What if I can no longer earn this income because I've become disabled? Members don't think that they are likely to become disabled. They don't anticipate the financial impacts that this also comes with. Now, one of our claimants actually explained to us how they had to sell their TV, they had to sell their washing machine while they were undergoing treatment. So employers do need to balance between affordability as well as meeting needs, especially when structuring benefit packages. We do listen to our advisors as well. And what we are hearing is that price is a significant factor and a focal point when we start looking at these particular benefits. Stakeholders are looking for simple products, they're looking for seamlessness, flexibility, and efficient processes. Now, in 2019, we paid out 647 million in lump sum disability and critical illness, as well as terminal illness claims, and 1.1 billion in income disability claims. That's the difference we can make when we're able to reach out to members of our funds. Now, let's make it even worse than that. What if I die? Who will take care of my family? So we conducted some research in 2019 to better understand our clients as well as their beneficiaries and what they prioritize in the event of a death in the family. First of all, a lot of them did not even know that they had access to a benefit. A lot of them didn't even know that they were beneficiaries. In fact, as I stand here this afternoon, I'm probably a beneficiary somewhere, I hope. But, no one has ever come to me and said, son, you are a beneficiary, and if something happens, this is who you call. This topic of passing away is taboo. And then this leaves us with a situation where individuals do not update beneficiary data. And I'll talk to you about this shortly. So, within Funds at Work, we only have a completion rate of about 18% in terms of beneficiary nomination data. I'd just like us to marinate in that. Now, let's say I dodge these slings and arrows that life throws. I dodge disability, I dodge illness, and now I find myself at retirement. Now, our research tells us that people do find the terminology around solutions quite confusing. There's little or no access to advice, especially when it's needed at that critical time where decisions need to be made. And what has changed in our industry is this transition from defined benefit funds to defined contribution funds, which now place the responsibility firmly in the hands of employees in terms of making sure that they are saving enough to retire, making sure that they're preserving, and making the right calls in terms of how they invest. So with this responsibility, there is a need to ensure that we are able to deploy financial knowledge into the hands of our members. We must also consider, whilst we look at this retirement phenomenon, that life expectancy has doubled in the last 200 years. So in years to come, we could find human beings living to 140. So the idea of having enough money at the end of your life is becoming realer and realer on a daily basis. Now, what does this mean for employers? What's keeping employers up at night? I would say the essence of it is a desire to make sure that your employees are fine from a financial and wellness perspective, but also a pressure because your employees are coming to you and asking you about these financial products. How much do I need to save? What does this product cater for? What investment option do I choose? But yet, this is not your area of expertise necessarily. So employers are aware that they cannot give financial advice, and they're not equipped to assist their employees. And this also takes time out of the daily schedules, which are quite busy, I admit. Employers feel that the responsibility that they have really falls on their shoulders in terms of making sure that they take care of their employees. But what they are looking for is help. Help me to pitch this information and education at a level that is appropriate for my employees. So, how do we do this? We try to do it through user-friendly engagement channels. We're trying to drive improvements in financial literacy. And in addition to this, as employers, we implement employee value propositions, where we make sure that we are able to bring into the workplace access to these solutions around education, around advice, around informing. Now, our research studies do show us that employers rely on their financial advisors, as well as insurers, to help them with this engagement. We are seeing a shift as well from manual, paper-based engagement platforms to digital engagement platforms. But again, a stat I'd like to hide somewhere, our Funds at Work trustee newsletter, we're only able to send that to 26% of our member base due to the shortage of data. And even for that 26% who do receive it, only 32% actually click through to actually read what is in there. So some way we need to build a bridge. We try to do this as well through corporate rewards programs, where we're saying to employers, we understand this is a very difficult challenge to navigate, and you have limited resources with which to do it. So through our Multiply for Corporates program, we are now able to generate rewards for employers that enable them to invest in their employee value proposition. So as an example, at this point in time, there are 1,000 employers who participate in the Multiply for Corporates rewards program. And those employers have accumulated 1.2 million rands in rewards. And they've used these rewards for various initiatives within the workplace around supplying free flu vaccines to their staff, medical screenings, gym facilities, not memberships. We all wish it was memberships, and employee assistance programs. So how do we pull all of this together? This data, these generations we're interacting with and trying to service, how they behave as employees, and how they flow into a workplace, and our own responsibility as employers for these individuals. I want to thank you for coming with me on this whirlwind tour of the changing workplace. This is much more, well, there's much more I could have shared. I wish I could have shared a lot more, but time does not allow us this afternoon. But before we move on, let's take a pause and just ask, how do we connect all this information to the betterment of our members, employees, and our clients? So each person's unique data and data pattern connects to make up a workforce of unique individuals with unique needs. Now, through analyzing these unique data patterns, or what we like to call digital DNA, we identify the connections between people and segments, and how those become one of communities of individuals. These natural communities of individuals form within the workplace through their affiliations, priorities, and preferences. And all of these are driven through each individual's personal as well as social behavior, which, as I said earlier, is documented through their digital footprint. Our clients have many challenges that they're trying to navigate on their journey to success. And our purpose is to improve the financial outcomes for South Africans. And to do this, we need to make sure that they have the information that they need to make the right decisions at the right times. So what are some of these right decisions? Updating their beneficiary nomination details once in a while, increasing their contribution rates when they get that big bonus or that increase, preserving their savings when they change jobs, or getting the right advice at the time they are now retiring and deciding what solution they will utilize for that retirement. By connecting with our clients, we are able to understand their needs a whole lot better, and we are able to develop solutions and services that are right in terms of the building blocks that they offer for an effective employee value proposition. And ultimately, these need to appeal to this connected workforce that we now see today. Now, we'd love to say we can do this ourselves. As with any good conversation, there's always an appeal at the end. We can only achieve this partnership with you, our financial advisors, business partners, employers, by helping us access each member that we are able to connect with them on their journey to success. I would like to see a day where we can make sure that one more home doesn't have to be repossessed because a benefit was not paid out because we did not have beneficiary details. When one less child has to be pulled out of school because school fees could not be paid, again, because we did not have detail on who this beneficiary should be. We are in the business of dreams. We are in the business of changing lives. And we do this empowered by the power of data that must now become the asset in our hands. Thank you very much.
So up until now, we've been talking a lot about data. We've talked a lot about those insights. But how do we make it practical? How do we actually sit down and unpack that a little bit further? So what we're going to do in our next segment is have a panel discussion and conversation to really unpack this and go into the detail. I'd like you to please welcome on stage our panel of experts, the Momentum family, starting off with our Head of Product Solutions, Nico van der Walt.
Welcome to the stage, the Momentum Corporate Experts.
Elna van Wyk, Head of Group Underwriting and Disability. Kubalan Govender, Manager of Income Solutions. And Hilda Martins, Head of Client Services. So welcome to the panel of experts, and thanks for your time. I think we're going to start off with Nico, the Head of Product Solutions, and my first question is for you. So we've spoken a lot today about client data and contact details. So how does access to client data improve our ability to offer group insurance solutions that support our client needs?
Well, I'm an actuary, and if you say I must try and solve a problem without data, it's very difficult. But surprisingly, in the group insurance industry, we got by for many years with surprisingly little data. So when I started, it was very common, and unfortunately, it's still common in some cases, where we would get data once a year, and we would be able to underwrite the scheme on that and charge premiums and so on. But obviously, the member at the end had no clue who the insurer are. In many cases, they had no clue what the benefits are and what to do when they claim. So for us, when we first looked at this new PPR regulation that says we must be able to communicate directly with the end insured, the member that's being insured, we thought, no, this is too much for a stretch for the industry, the way it's operated. But I must say, the more we started thinking about it, and if I think about all the things we would have liked to do in the past where we didn't have the data, this is the ideal chance. So we've spoken a lot about the beneficiary details. Hilda will talk a lot about the smart experiences that we want to do, but all of that is driven by data. So if I think, employers should also benefit from this, because it would mean that their employees are much better informed when they actually have benefits. I mean, benefits cost a lot of money in a lot of cases. It's a big employer expense, and what you want is that employees appreciate what they've got. So one of our surveys quite recently encouragingly has said that employers are actually very much in favor for us to have this contact details and to utilize that. So we showed a lot of the amount of families that we've used, paid benefits to, the amount of benefits. We paid out death benefits of about 6 billion over the last 3 years. And although we're extremely proud of what we're doing in the way we pay benefits and make sure that we pay the right benefits, in a lot of those cases, we were unable to pay in the time we wanted to pay simply because we didn't have the experience, the right data. And if you can imagine, that's a family in dire need, and money is now not finding the right home because we don't have a trivial thing like the right contact details, the right beneficiary details. That's really something that I think will make a major difference. Thanks.
Thank you, Nico. Hilda, Nico explained why it's so important to have access to client data to make contact with our clients. So how does client data help to offer more intuitive and efficient claim processes?
Good morning, everyone. Or is it afternoon already? No, it's afternoon. I just want to say I know how you're feeling at this stage. After sitting an hour and a half, I could barely make it here. So bear with us, it's almost over. Right, so we want to talk about our smart claims process, which we have written to the community to about last year or towards the end of the year. But maybe because I was already going on to Belito mood, and you may have been, maybe we didn't see it, so we just want to reiterate this process because I think it's actually a wonderful thing that we are putting together and a very first in the industry. Smart claims is the outcome of immersive research that we've done, and now obviously with the PPR data that I hope that you will help us get, we can actually make this tool work. Now, when somebody in a family passes away, the last thing that people want to do is to actually now start gathering papers, filling in forms, contacting people that they don't even know where and what, they would really want to have a rather easy process. So what we have done now is we've actually managed to integrate with a technology partner. So at passing away, at a death, we can really get key data points integrated, and we can really pay a claim without actually receiving a lot of forms. I mean, imagine you must now go and look for your marriage certificate of 30 years ago. It's most probably not available anymore. So things like that so really this process will make it so much easier, and we hope to then pay valid claims as quickly as possible, speedily as possible. Valid claims, obviously, always when not validating, we would still need certain information, but what we would require from most probably the employer submitting it to us is really just the claim form, an ID number, and the details of the beneficiaries, banking details and things like that. Important, and I think we've now talked enough about it, but I want to say it again, 18% of members have updated the beneficiary nomination forms. If we do not have that form with specifically unapproved benefits today, we have to pay the benefit into the estate of the employer. Of the member, not the employer, shame. That was a big mistake, eh? Anyway, so you're still awake, I hear. So yeah, so to pay into the estate, and that's really something that people do not understand. So I want to really urge you to talk to your members, your employees, to make sure that they complete those forms and make it keep it up to date. From time to time is not good enough. Every time something changes in the family, and also maybe annually. We recently had a discussion about a smart life file, because everything is smart in our world. And it really made me sort of like anxious, because I thought if my husband, who I love dearly, passes away today, I wouldn't even know how to work the alarm in our house. So it's really important that we do get those things together. Right, that is us then, and I really think, as I said, a first in the industry. I do hope that you will find this useful in the claims processes going forward, and that it will help members in the case of paying out these benefits. Then on other small, so I think I've said enough now. Oh, they're going to chase me off now. Over my 3 minutes. No, Shilan?
Yeah, thank you, Hilda. So it almost tells us some of those small things can have massive impacts. And how do we partner together to take that client service from great to legendary? And I think that partnership with a small thing is quite important. Nico, back to you. I have another question for you, and that's really around income disability. So if we look at income disability and it's being evaluated on the 3 Ps, so price, policy, and practice, what would you say are some of the trends that we're seeing in terms of income disability claim management, claimant behavior, as well as the price in the market?
Yeah, I must say, for someone who's involved on the PHI side or the income disability side, the last 6-7 years has been extremely tough. So, we can be quite open that we've experienced significant losses on our book. At the moment, it looks if slightly better the last year or two, but before that, I think we were taken by surprise by the increase in number of claims. And then not only did we get more claims, the claims that we got stayed on the books for longer on average, which obviously makes the claim cost significantly more. So as a result, you've seen a lot of price increases. And I would be surprised if there's not going to be a stage where employers would say they need to look at alternative benefits because the price increase has just been too much. Now, what's driven the deterioration experience from our perspective, I think the first key reason is very poor economic conditions that we've had over a number of years. And I sort of went on leave last year and I thought, okay, 2020 is going to be a better year, I'm sure. So far, that doesn't look to be the case. So I think it's going to remain extremely tough out there. It's tough for employers to take people back, to make accommodations at work. And then also the tax changes in 2015 didn't help. So, I'm sure all of you know that, all of a sudden, benefits are not taxable anymore. So the relationship between what you can earn on disability versus what you earned while working, especially just from a regular salary point of view, makes it often much more attractive to claim, and certainly when you have claimed, to stay a claimant. So for us, to manage claims and payment and to take all the data that we've got, because that is the area where we actually do have significant data as our claims and payment in terms of causes and where people live and what occupations they've had, and to analyze that much more. So we're looking at, that's a particular area we would want to do machine learning. Elna has, with a small group of claimants, done an experiment where we give people wearables, in cases where claimants are have high potential to come back, but that we can track the activity to see, what sort of combination of factors would it make it more likely for them to come back. So it's actually an extremely interesting area to work in, but I must say quite a stressful one just in terms of trying to get ahead of the results, because the last few years the claims have just deteriorated, so that has been tough. Interesting, if you look at the claim causes, musculoskeletal and cancer are still very significant claim causes and predominant. But claims from depression or generally stress, I think we as South Africans are extremely stressed. And a lot of the things that we've said today, interestingly, talks to people being very connected on their phones. And, some research, and Elna will talk a bit more about that recently, has also shown that the engagement with our devices has a huge impact on our sleep. And if your sleep is impaired and you don't get a good night's sleep, that has huge knock-on impacts on all sorts of aspects that Elna will talk a bit more. Thank you.
Thanks, Nico. So I think when it comes to income disability, it looks to be the perfect storm, but I think by engaging and connecting, we really can navigate that turbulence. With that, I'd like to ask Elna to join in the discussion with us today. So Elna, can we unpack the connection that sits between social media engagement, blue light, and illness, and some of the things that you've seen and cases you've seen in your area?
Thank you, Nash. Yes, sources of blue light would include sunlight, electronic devices, LED lighting, and screens, digital screens like the one behind me, your tablets, your cell phones, any form of computer and TVs. And the big issue with the devices that emits these blue light is that it impairs the production of melatonin in your brain, and that actually reduces sleepiness. And like Nico mentioned, good quality sleep is incredibly important if you look at all aspects of mental and physical health and wellness. We've also seen that based on all the research, I don't know if you've read some medical articles recently, but there's a lot of stuff around the importance of sleep and how that is linked to all sorts of medical conditions. And it's not just about the duration of sleep, but the quality of the sleep that you have. And it's linked to conditions like cancer, obesity, cardiometabolic diseases, depression, and Alzheimer's, which was quite interesting. With the quick pace that technology has enabled, we see that downtime is becoming a real big challenge. We struggle to leave work at work, and we're basically available 24 hours a day. So technology has impacted on our constructive and purposeful spend of free time, things like activities and hobbies. We heard this morning that you lean over your spouse to get your cell phone, and you would rather do something like that than get up, visit a friend, or do something more constructive with your time. We live very sedentary lives. We've seen that a lot of new studies speaks about the importance of vitamin D, and that's something that you get from direct sunlight. And the deficiencies that's been developing in people because of the fact that we are office-bound and sitting in offices the whole day, and that there's a number of medical conditions also linked to that. Depression, cognitive impairment, lots of allergies, asthma, muscle weakness, and rheumatoid arthritis. Social media also leads to anxiety and depression, and you heard this morning how happy you feel when somebody likes something or share one of your posts. Well, you also get the opposite that's true. It can lead to people displaying perfect lives on Facebook and social media platforms, where it then leads to feelings of inadequacy And, most importantly, true relationships and meaningful interactions with other humans are impacted on. And that research is showing has a substantial impact on all facets of life and longevity. All research studies that speaks about wine being good for you, I read. But what they actually say is the reason why that is such a good thing is because it encourages interaction and relaxation and social engagement. And you've heard that all our claimants share one doctor, Dr. Google. Very familiar with anything that's Dr. Google says. And technology definitely is not all bad. There's a lot of good that can come from it. For example, us using our big data to understand our claimants better, what drives each individual, what are the psychosocial risk factors that will impact the outcome of a disability claim or the duration of a claim. And with this information, we can tailor-make solutions for individuals that's not only based on the medical condition, but speaks to the actual individual and human. And of course, it allows us to stay in touch with our disability claimants and for them to stay in touch with us throughout this journey.
Thank you, Elna. So just to summarize, less technology or more technology breaks, more wine and more sleep people.
Yes.
Definitely a great combination. And as Elna mentioned, we also have that innate like to be liked. So don't forget to invite us on at Momentum Corporate. We will be really excited. Elna, while we're on this topic and really in your area, you mentioned tailor-made interventions suitable for medical condition and individual. So what sets our disability management team apart?
Well, we believe that the proof is in the pudding. The commitment and promises that gets made by the product development individuals and the marketing teams really get put to the test the moment somebody gets disabled or gets diagnosed with a medical condition and that they're no longer able to generate an income. I can give you a list of objective reinsurer audits and comparative studies as to why my team is the best in the industry. But what truly sets us apart is the fact that we have passion for our jobs. Our continuous focus and commitment on improvement, and the fact that we have heart. And I think the best way to demonstrate that is to give you some examples of the many cases that we deal with. So, Mrs. Soko, this lovely lady sustained a traumatic amputation of a dominant hand in a motor vehicle accident. It was quite an emotional journey that Momentum supported her throughout. We facilitated and paid for a prosthesis. She was an underground worker prior to the accident. And what's that things, Dumo? Through online courses, MOOCs. We assisted her in reskilling and retraining into a different job as a security administrator. We renegotiated a job for her at the employer, and we assisted her with accommodations within the workplace, different computer headsets, office equipment that's suitable for somebody with one arm. And she was able to use her rehabilitation bonus to buy an automatic car and get it adjusted for a one-arm driver. And then our second case, Mrs. Smith. This extraordinary lady was diagnosed with a degenerative eye condition. That means that she will become blind, totally blind, at the age of 30. Yeah. She was working as a project manager at the time that we got notified of the situation, and she was required to drive to different sites. So we supported her throughout this journey with various different interventions, from getting her a driver to getting an assistant, computers with bigger fonts, right through to voice-activated computer software. And we, in the end, helped her to secure a job as a more senior person at a different company that had more disability-friendly practices. And that's the sort of thing that my team does.
Thank you, Elna. So, it really echoes some of these wow client experiences and really how the passion drives into the team. And that's why that saying on the slide say, not all heroes wear capes. Some are in the disability management team. For me...
No, we did not make up.
Yeah. Elna doesn't wear a cape to work. It's this virtual cape. For me, I think what's quite important when we think about income disability, and Nico mentioned it, we talked about the price and we talked about policy, but a very important thing is around the disability management. And many people don't know the impact of disability unless you face it. And I think having that team with that passion is quite important on how they drive that. Next up on our list, we have Pubalan. Pubalan, I think if you look at the generations and the younger generations, the whole YOLO generation, you only live once. Dumo promised we're going to be millennials and cool when we leave here, so we're going to drop a few of these. But effectively, we saw in Dumo's slides that he talked about people's health and lifestyle, and seeing people live healthier lifestyles, probably going to live longer, and Dumo even mentioned we're probably going to live twice as long as our ancestors. So can you talk a little bit about longevity risk, and do people understand this, and what is the implications or downside if they get it wrong?
Thanks, Nashlin. So some very relevant questions. I think let's break it up in two parts. So let's first discuss longevity. The good news is that people are living longer, but these rising prospects of longevity means that the different generations should prioritize retirement savings. In particular, the younger generations, who we know tend to put it off until much later. The chart that we have here is sourced from our World in Data, and it shows the dramatic increase in life expectancy of the last couple of centuries, where it averaged around 30 years. Now it currently averages over 70 years. So we're living twice as long as our ancestors. So I think we should all be lucky we weren't born 200 years ago, because we'll all be dead, right? So today, if you ask most people how long they think their retirement savings should last, they'll grossly underestimate their expected future lifespan. And that can have drastic consequences for them. For example, they might have to scale back their lifestyles in retirement, or worse off, they may become dependent on someone else. And the problem is that most people find this out way too late. Even in the cases where people have saved enough at retirement age, they may run out of money due to other reasons. For example, trying to draw down too much too soon, or not accounting for inflation over their retirement decades. So maybe let's chat now about the choices that people make at retirement. There's overwhelming evidence to suggest that people don't make the appropriate choices of retirement products, nor do they make the appropriate options that they have to ensure that they have a sustainable income in retirement. People generally tend to maximize their income to the detriment of income growth in retirement, or the duration of how long their income should last. So the big problem is that if people do not appreciate the risk of living longer than expected, or inflation risk, they are unlikely to appreciate the products that protect against this risk. For example, this is seen in the mix of products that people currently purchase. So more than 80% of people currently buy living annuity products, where most industry experts think this proportion should be much lower. Life annuity products, on the other hand, are out of favor, although they are good at addressing the longevity and inflation risks. And they should actually form a core component of the retirement plan for most people, because they are good at providing a sustainable income no matter how long somebody lives. We find that giving people access to information and education early on in their retirement journey is crucial to help improve the decisions that they make at retirement. So self-education tools, like our smart retirement tools, are an excellent way of educating the people of different ages. In particular, it makes these difficult concepts of longevity risk and inflation risk more relatable to them. So to end off, I would leave with 3 big predictions. I think that people are going to continue to live longer than expected. Secondly, living longer than expected, or living longer, will become more expensive, because it will be mainly driven by medical advances. And thirdly, people will still grapple with these concepts of inflation risk and longevity risk, and therefore they would need access to more information, education, and more importantly, strong, sound financial advice that's tailored to their unique circumstances to help them navigate through their retirement journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pubal, and I think it really leaves us with the concept of let's not underestimate the quality of life we want in retirement, and have those important discussions, and thanks for those insights. We've saved the best for last with this question, Hilda, and this one's for you. I thought it's quite important if you look at our clients' preferred communication channels, and the fact that if you look at our connected age and our future generations that have very, very short attention spans, how is this actually impacted our client insights, and how has this changed our view on client experience?
Thank you, Nash. I've forgotten the question now.
Hilda is the undercover millennial.
Okay, guys, it's always good to have the last say. So at home as well now, especially at home, even if it's with the dog. Over the last couple of years, we've designed a couple of smart solutions that we really want our members to use to get more information around the benefits. And we have also found that people prefer to actually do these things in their own time, maybe at home, maybe that last thing before you go. You can check quickly what is your retirement savings worth now. Although I haven't checked the last couple of days, I might maybe see that I have to work a couple of years longer. But in any case, in a survey that we have done last year, towards the end, Consulta helped us with that. We saw that 2/3 of our members actually now prefer to interact with us via web and online. And only 1/3 specifically still want to talk to somebody or send an email, which is really a big change from before. There are, however, very specific times that you want to check something, you want reassurance that where is my money, what is the delay in the process, and then specifically wants to call in and talk to a person or send an email. That's for that reason that we then have a team of experts working in the client service team. They specifically there to service our books of brokers and our clients, and to be available when somebody wants to do the talk to somebody or see somebody thing. We make mistakes. Obviously, I will be the first one to acknowledge that. But really, when we are at our best, we really listen, we learn, and we care, and we really want to assist. For us, the smart client experience is really to inspire success. You've heard these words a lot of times today, but really inspire success, but not only for some of us, but for our members, our employers, our financial advisors, and our staff. We saw earlier that a good EVP help you look after your people. In Momentum Corporate, we do have that, and I really think because we acknowledge our staff, they will also look after you. So really, that's what before, a smart experience. If you experience something other than smart experience, please talk to me. We are actually, me, Millennium, fake one.
Hashtag undercover.
If I want to talk to Nico, who is in the Cape Town office, I live in Gauteng, then I would rather get on a plane and make an appointment to see him face to face, because that's for me an interaction that I prefer than trying to go onto a web or what. So it's really one of those bad ones. So I'm quite sure there are some of you out there as well. But we were surprised when we looked at the latest stats, and we see that people are really moving towards the digital solutions. 89% of our employers monthly update their reconciliations through the employer portal. 62% of employers submit claims via the portal and with smart exits. During the last year, and Wallen referred to it, we have the Smart Retirement app. About 4,000 people actually accessed the app, and not app, the tool, and looked at it. I think maybe some of them just wanted to see what they look like when they turn 85, because there's an ability to upload a selfie and then age yourself. It was quite a shock. I will never go there again. I will believe that I stay young. And then one of the other exciting things that we have developed and launched about 18 months ago is smart underwriting. We all know that underwriting creates a lot of problems. We often get it wrong. It often takes long to get a result. And if you are in the qualifying criteria and can need a declaration of health, we can actually let you do this digitally now, and it will complete in 3 minutes. If you are healthy, like you all seem to me, then you will get the result immediately. Else, Fastlane will follow. But yeah, wonderful, and we actually want to expand that services to reach more of our underwriting cases. So yes, with the surprising information, and we're really moving there towards where members and employers, and maybe you as well, want to rather talk to us through the phone before you go to bed, and not really want to see me anymore. And the range of smart solutions, we are going to launch smart onboarding in the next couple of months. That is really also, to me, very exciting in two ways. Members will be able to go onto USSD or mobile to complete their personal details, to actually look at their benefits very early in the journey. So soon after they became a member of Funds at Work, they will be able to do this. So it will provide them that interaction. It will provide you as financial advisors the ability to talk to them about those benefits, and it will give us the information so that we can do all these things that we want to do.
Thank you, Hilda. I think to summarize, we have the modern world. I think those market-leading digital tools are important, but at the same time, not forgetting human touch with a dash of hand sanitizer. I think I'd like to give a big thank you to our panelists for really injecting life into the data, for really exploring and unpacking what it means and those data-driven insights. So with that, I'd like to thank the panel, and if we could have a round of applause for them.